Okay guys, so for this next activity on scale drawings, we're going to be looking at different representations of what a scale drawing can look like and what it shouldn't look like. So for this next one, on your worksheets that you guys have, you will see that there are multiple drawings of the letter F, but some of the F's are scaled copies, while other F's are not. I understand that this could be a little confusing for some of you guys, since obviously letter F's all look like they're the same letter, so it's hard to tell which one's a scale copy. So to help you guys out with that, I brought in a couple basketballs. You guys are all familiar with the different sizes of basketball. Timothy, are you familiar? Okay, Nathan. Yep, right. So kid-sized basketballs are around 27.5 inches. That's what I have here. So I'll pass this around. And then a men's-sized basketball, or aka the NBA-sized basketball. You guys know how big that one is? Yep, you're right, Nathan. It's 29.5 inches. So I'll pass that one around too. Okay, so why are these two basketball scale drawings of each other? If we're saying that the child size is the original one, why is the NBA size scale drawing? Can anyone respond to me? You can also just think about it. You can share with a partner. You can write it down in your notes, and I'll be able to look at that later in your folders. But if anyone wants to tell me, sure, Gracie. Yep. Gotcha, yep. So they're scale drawings because they're the same shape, but the NBA size is just a bigger size of the same shape. It's not stretched or distorted in any other way. It's bigger in all dimensions and bigger in by the same scale factor. So, if that makes sense to you guys can keep passing around the basketballs to get a feel for what a scale drawing is. And go ahead and let me know when you guys are done looking at that. Okay, cool. Now let's look at the F's on our worksheet. And so you guys can either work with a partner, you can work in groups, or you can work individually. And I'll be coming around to support and monitor everyone while Ms. Spears here. She will be at the front of the room at the U-shaped desk for whole group, so you can choose to sit at the U-shaped desk or come over here to the group desk, or we have individual desks back in the back of the classroom. So it's up to you guys how you guys want to work on this assignment. And for the assignment, it can be done on the computer. You can write it down. Either way works for me and Mrs. Spears. Are there any questions or anything like that? Okay, sounds good. Well, I'm going to come around. I'm going to monitor and support and help you guys out while you're doing this. Make sure if you have a question that you ask me for help. Okay, now that I've given you guys some time to work on this and try to grapple with what a scale drawing is, does anyone want to share out with me what their definition of a scale drawing is? Okay, Lamaya. Yep. That's all correct. I like that. So, how are the scale drawing outs similar to the NBA basketball scale copy? Yep, exactly. Now, does anyone have any examples of scaled objects or drawings or anything that you think is a scale copy of an original object that you might have noticed from your community? Sorry, fly. That you might have noticed from your community or anywhere in your daily lives? Okay, Patrick, yep. Right, exactly. I'm very familiar with that, yes. Right, the big chair in Anacostia, yeah. That's definitely a scale drawing. And Patrick, do you mind telling the class why it's a scale drawing, or better yet, James, do you know? Would you mind sharing with us? Right. I like how you used the example of your own chair. Yep. So if you just made your own chair way bigger in all lengths, it would be just like the Anacostia big chair. So if you just take a shrink ray to the Anacostia big chair, just point it at the chair, it would get exactly smaller, like a scale copy. Okay, now to reflect on the process as a whole. Um, so in planning and implementing the practice that I implemented, which I actually did two practices. I focused on flexible grouping, but I kind of added the universal design for learning multiple means of engagement just by using a basketball as another example to get the students engaged. I thought that was pretty easy to throw in there, but I focused on the flexible grouping, so that's what I'll mostly talk about. So what worked was the students really liked having the option to choose where they worked and who they worked with. It let them take ownership of their learning, and they were more engaged because of it, I think. What didn't work though was it was kind of hectic at the same time because you have three different groups of students working. You have students over here in a U-shaped pod being taught by Miss Spears, and me walking around supporting individual students and also the students who chose to work in groups of 3 or 4. So it was hectic, and that didn't work for some learners. Changes I would make if I were to implement this practice again, I would definitely ask students what kind of groups they would like to see, because although I let them choose which groups they wanted to be in, I still choose what type of groups they were going to make, so I could allow them to do whatever way they wanted to group up together. And also I would make sure I knew my classes a little better, because with some of the classes with more kids with IEPs, the flexible grouping didn't work as well. It was just too hectic, too much going on. So what I learned about my learners during this experience is that they really appreciate having ownership of their learning, and they really appreciate having options to go through multiple avenues to get their materials and just to learn. So I knew they appreciated that, and that they could see that I was really putting the work in. And I think they felt like they should reciprocate that. So to continue, what I found challenging when adjusting the lesson plan, something I found challenging with the flexible grouping was just making sure that I could actually monitor everyone, because if there's 3 different groups of people, of students, or 3 different types of groups of students, individual, whole group, and small group, it was kind of hard to monitor everyone. There's a lot going on, and it's just not easy to get to every student and make sure that they're on task. So what I learned about myself during this experience, that you got to be flexible and patient with the kids, because when you're trying to implement something new, it kind of switches up their whole routine and they're not used to it. So you got to be ready to change the lesson plan on a dime, and so it works for the different classes throughout the day. Taking into account the variable needs of my learners fully impacted my instructional planning. So throughout the day, my classes I get more kids with IEPs, more kids who are in the special education environment. So I definitely had to tailor my lesson plan a little differently as I moved on. I got more whole group or super individualized, no small group, because with the small groups it was just a lot of chit-chatting, so that was just too much going on. So definitely knowing the variable needs of my learners helped a lot. And how do these practices and techniques as a whole support inclusive classroom environments? I think they're really just trying to get at the heart of every student learns differently, just like their fingerprint. It's all different. There's no one size fits all, even though my curriculum is district mandated and is trying to be one size fits all, but there really is no one size fits all. And these practices techniques really try to push a teacher to get the message that every kid needs something different in the class to learn at their maximum potential.